Dear participants, we'll be starting the session in 5 minutes. Technology is best when it brings people together. Most respected speaker of the session, Dr. Prem Nair, Medical Director of Amrita Institute of Medical Science and Research Center, Kochi, our mentor, faculties, and all my dear participants. A warm good evening to one and all, and welcome to the second day of SYNAPSIS 21, Discover the Difference. First of all, let me thank you all for the enormous response you showcased on day one of our event. Telemedicine and e-health refers to the use of information and communication technology embedded in software program with high-speed telecommunication system for delivery management and monitoring of healthcare services. Application of telemedicine have become timely while providing great potentials to protect both medical practitioners and patients, as well as limit social mobility of patients especially during COVID-19. As a part of SYNAPSIS 21, organized by the Department of Biomedical Engineering BLACE, IEEE EMBS Student Branch Chapter, and IEEE Student Branch Chapter of TCIL Institute of Technology, allied with IEEE EMBS Kerala Chapter, Telemedicine Society Kerala Chapter, and Digital Health India Association. I would like to welcome you all to the third session of the series, Application of Telemedicine and E-Health by Dr. Prem Nair. Let's start the session formally by calling upon Assistant Professor, Mrs. Darshana G of the Biomedical Department to introduce our speaker for the session. Ma'am, please.
Am I audible, Afsana?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. Good evening all. Myself Darshana G, Assistant Professor in Biomedical Engineering Department, TKM Institute of Technology, Kollam. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our eminent speaker, Dr. Prem Nair, who is going to talk to us about application of telemedicine and e-health with his experience. Dr. Prem Nair is Medical Director of Amrita Institute of Medical Science and Research Center, AIMS, Cochin, Kerala. He is also the President of Telemedicine Society of India, Kerala Chapter. Dr. Prem Nair hails from Mumbai, being an alma mater of Bombay University, National Medical College. He completed his undergraduate medical education and went to United States for pursuing higher studies in medicine. Dr. Prem took his postgraduate degree in medicine and subsequently specialized in internal medicine, gastroenterology, and liver disease at University of Southern California in Los Angeles. Our esteemed speaker was a professor at University of Southern California College of Medicine and directed the gastroenterology program at Hospital of Good Samaritan in Los Angeles. In 1994, Dr. Prem Nair moved to Mata Amritanandamai Math at Amritapuri, Kollam, Kerala, and voluntarily took up the challenge of setting up an affordable tertiary care referral hospital as envisioned by his Sadguru Mata Amritanandamai Devi, and was instrumental in putting in place medical care delivery system in rural areas of Kerala, Karnataka, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and Lakshadweep. New multi-speciality university teaching hospitals under AIMS are being established in National Capital Regio at Faridabad, Amaravati in Andhra Pradesh, and Kengri, Bangalore. 23 years since its inception, Amrita Institute of Medical Science and Research Center, AIMS, has grown from 115-bed specialty hospital to 1,300-bed super specialty tertiary care health center with an attached medical college, dental college, nursing college, pharmacy college, and center of allied health. His experience being a medical director of Amrita would definitely be an added advantage for today's talk session. It's my immense pleasure and honor to welcome you, sir. SYNAPSIS 21 is eagerly waiting for this incredible profile to join us. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Darshana, for your warm welcome. Let me especially welcome all of our guests who are here for the SYNAPSIS 21 of IEEE. Let me also welcome Mr. Shino Daniel, Ms. Anjali P.S., Ms. Afsana on this third day of the IEEE session. I hope I am audible to all of you.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. So my topic for today is application of telemedicine and e-health, the Amrita experience. Thank you for having us present our program at Amrita. Is it coming on? No, where is the slide? I hope the slide share is visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. Our telemedicine program was initiated at Amrita way back in 2002. And since then, we have been steadily increasing our various applications in digital health over the years. Our Chancellor, Amma, has been talking to us about sustainable development, and she has repeatedly mentioned that by strengthening the people at the base of the pyramid, the entire edifice of society goes strong and healthy. And she was one of the most passionate of people who have had special interest in working towards the lower end of the pyramid to the vulnerable strata of society. Telemedicine and teleeducation has been rapidly growing following the pandemic, COVID-19. So this has particularly been exceedingly impressive over the past almost year and a half that we have been all faced with this pandemic. Digitalization of health has been very rapid during this pandemic, not only in India, but throughout the world. Every single country has stepped up and scaled up their digitalization of healthcare. Using information technology for creating expertise and solving crucial problems of healthcare, and develop health delivery models and control the cost of healthcare effectively. So implementing telemedicine, telecare, as well as teleeducation during these trying times has been remarkable. Remarkable in the sense, telemedicine, although has been in place for the last almost 20 years since Dr. Kasturi Rangan inaugurated it at Amrita. However, telemedicine has been very slow to pick up because of a variety of reasons. But most recently, the pandemic has picked it up and brought it back into the limelight. And the reason being that today, not only physician enthusiasts, but also the patients demand it. And safe distancing has been readily possible with telemedicine. It is able to extend the healthcare activities to individuals in remote areas and create medical database, as well as innovation in the field of health education. There are various areas that we have developed that is telemedicine. Along with telemedicine would be e-revolution, A-View, Amrita University Management System, OMS, Amrita Vidya, Hospital Information Systems, haptics, and medical simulation as part of the digitalization of health. So we have telehealth, mobile health, and tele-education, as well as electronic health. So all of these are various terminologies that we can discuss during the Q&A session. We have developed a Center for Digital Health, which has a learning resource center, a division of medical informatics, multimedia, advanced surgical simulated training center, research and technology assessment, clinical practice unit, division of continuing medical education for those in practice in the community, as well as collaborative international programs as part of the digitalization and digital healthcare. Telemedicine is the use of technology, video conferencing technology, to provide healthcare in remote areas at a diagnostic and treat therapeutic level, diagnose, monitor, and treat patients. The application of technology, with the application of telehealth, patients manage their own illness through self-care and access to education and support. Now, today, the relevance of telemedicine has been brought out very starkly by the COVID-19 pandemic. We all know that the inadequate infrastructure in rural and district hospitals are a major problem. Large number of indoor and outdoor patients requiring specialized care, which is unavailable. Low availability of health experts, dearth of adequate opportunities for training and education of doctors in rural areas. All of these are positively impacted by telemedicine. So it has the standard software, which you are all much more aware of than I am. So we'll skip that. Dr. Kasturi Rangan from the Department of Space inaugurated the EMBS telemedicine program. And we have Mr. Ron Gottsagen, who is participating in that, who was our administrative director until very recently. The goals of telemedicine is to provide specialty teleconsultations to all corners of India and to educate doctors in remote, primary, secondary, and tertiary care in various fields and provide teleeducation through international seminars, workshops, and teaching programs. This strengthens the skill and confidence of remote primary centers in managing more difficult and more complicated cases. So the objectives of telemedicine are very clear. Patients should be treated as close to their homes as possible. Medical expertise should be equally available, independent of where the patient lives. The quality of medical decisions must be appropriate. Patients should get all the information and service they require. The health services should improve efficiency and productivity and reduce the cost of healthcare so that it reaches the bottom of the pyramid, as we said. All exchange of information needs to take into account aspects of security, of privacy for the individual patient, and medical knowledge database should progressively increase and be more easily accessible to everyone needing it. Use of information and communication technology to provide specialized healthcare consults in remote locations and facilitate video conferencing among health experts for better treatment and care as part of a continuing medical education. This also provides opportunities for continuing education of healthcare professionals. There are different types of services depending on the type of department that is using telemedicine. As you can see, telemedicine is not just a department of a hospital or a medical center or a university. It is an institution in itself, because it works with every single department and so we have accordingly, depending on the type of department that is passionately involved in implementing telemedicine, you have telecardiology, teleradiology, pathology, psychiatry, prevention and control of endemic and infectious disease through primary care and epidemiologic studies, The types of service with telemedicine would be teleconsultation, where two doctors would communicate and provide the necessary diagnostic information generated from the patient. Telemonitoring, which is similar to the ICU, where a digitalized monitor is able to send all the vital signs remotely to a centralized monitoring station. Telehealth is primarily involved with health education, and we'll come to it. Telementoring is a process of education for both undergraduates and postgraduates, as well as continuing education for practicing physicians. So telementoring has come to the forefront with the pandemic. And as you know, with the pandemic, there has not been a face-to-face interaction between students and their teachers, and most of the teaching has been online. However, in the case of medicine, unlike most other specialties or departments, medicine is uniquely been very difficult to have online teaching and training because of the nature of the subject, which requires hands-on expertise. As we'll come to subsequently, although medicine is difficult to digitalize in terms of education and teaching and training, they still are able to generate a lot of online teaching courses and curriculum and syllabus, and be able to substantially have a hybrid system to facilitate the training of medical students, nurses, and other allied health professionals. Surgical telementoring is very common. It has been there even before the COVID pandemic. It is usually through cadaveric dissection. It is through a variety of remote robotic surgical processes and simulated techniques that they are able to train surgeons even in a non person-to-person training program. Tele-rounds is a new method that is picking up a lot of steam in many Western universities, where they use digital high-definition video cameras which accompany the senior physician on rounds with patients. And this has now been adopted by Harvard, and they have developed a large database of video rounds which are able to provide substantial visual teaching aids and be able to provide a wide variety of interactive sessions with the faculty. The only thing that is missing from that online experience is the lack of tactile stimulus in the process of learning, which is important, but that can be made up during specialized short observation and training periods. As you know, in medicine, everything is getting digitalized, whether it be surgical instruments, whether it be cameras, whether it be a variety of endoscopes, whether it be robots, everything is getting digitalized. So pathologists, psychiatrists, radiologists, cardiologists are all using digital equipments and digital systems that allow them to remotely manage patients who are geographically far away from where they are. And in a pandemic situation, the patients demand that, so it makes it much more effective. So we mentioned that. So the EAMS telemedicine service provides primary specialty diagnosis, second opinion, recommends treatment post-treatment advice based on clinical directives, and appropriate radiologic and laboratory investigations. As you can see, the teleconsultation over a period of time has been waxing and waning, and it has substantially picked up. We used to see about 20 to 25 patients a day on teleconsultation from all different parts of India. Today, we see more than 2,500 patients every day on teleconsultation. So that this remarkable development is partially because today, telemedicine is driven by the patient, not by the doctors, not by the hospital. And this drive and demand by patients we see an enormous increase in the use of telemedicine. In telemedicine is a form of medical practice that is reimbursed by insurance companies in many Western countries. And in the United States, the income and the collections exceed $250 billion so far over the COVID period. So it is a huge transition from analogous systems to digital systems. And this has generated a great deal of digital activity, not just in the US, but throughout the world. So the benefits of telemedicine for the government would be reduced rush to the medical facilities in the government centers, access to expertise of medical specialists. In the private sector, reduced visits to specialty hospitals, not only in the private sector, but also in the government sector. Hospital and insurance benefits are, every insurance company will be delighted if every hospital practices rigorous telemedicine, because the costs of providing teleconsultations and treatments is far less than that of in-person treatment. We initiated the telemedicine program, as I said, in 2002. And subsequently, we have grown to 42 to 44 centers throughout India and several international centers in many remote corners of the world. And this has been a remarkable experience, largely because we've been able to work with geographically remote families and populations that have substantially benefited from telemedicine because of the nature of the terrain and the location, the geography in which they live and work and make a living. So they have no access to specialty care and no access to specialty hospitals. And we've been able to work with them and provide them timely service and move them to a local secondary or tertiary hospitals to get them the medical care that they need. So we have experimented and piloted several projects. I wouldn't say that many of them are routine care. Many of them are pilot projects that we have been working with periodically with different expert centers in developing and trying to develop some of these programs. For instance, teleendoscopy that is performed remotely, that you can have technicians and an endoscopist do the procedure remotely. And because it's a digital image, high definition digital image, it can be transmitted via terrestrial lines or by satellite links to the secondary or tertiary center, where the expert can analyze those images. And so you can bring down the cost of care and improve the compliance by taking the diagnostic procedures close to the patient. So this will reduce the cost of care substantially. Patient satisfaction will improve. Remote emergency procedures can be performed. you can provide a lot of diagnostic blood studies and other body fluids. One can maintain a large database over the years, the electronic medical records as they are referred to, and healthcare providers can access this EMR from any location to provide diagnosis based on a comprehensive evaluation of the patient. This EMR can be stored in patient digital or electronic file, and this personalized lifetime record can be made available to any physician or anyone who has the required password to access that information. Continuing medical education applications are huge, and particularly now with the problem of COVID-19, continuing medical education using digitalized methods like telemedicine, teleeducation, and so on have really finally come of age, and we are able to provide continuing education remotely, and experts in one corner of the world can provide and train physicians, multiple physicians in multiple different countries. And this reduces the cost of medical education, which has been prohibitive all these years. And we hope that that will come to fruition with the lower costs of healthcare education. Teleconsultation, as we know, is the provision of medical opinions through a telecommunication medium. It's a dynamic process and requires interaction from the medical practitioner, the consulting physician, and the patient. So far, the consulting physician was the most active, but the medical practitioner in the remote location and the patient were less than enthusiastic until we were hit by the virus infection. So, as you can see, teleconsultation really goes back to the telephones, the simple telephone, which was the first telemedicine unit that we have seen. Subsequently, now today, with digitization, you can pretty much digitize everything, medical images, medical data, voice, and it needs to be, and it is extremely reliable and fast and cost effective. As we mentioned some of these. So basically, in a nutshell, you have at the apex, you have the medical college and tertiary care facility that maintains a data repository, usually a cloud computing system, with regional health center and tertiary and regional health center and rural health center at one end, and they both communicate with a variety of statutory agencies like the DMO and DME and MOH. The telemedicine model is one of a nodal hospital with a referral hospital providing super specialty consultations and an expert or specialty doctor in the central telemedicine server having audio-visual connectivity with both the nodal and the referral hospitals and providing the necessary consultative support. The systems that are needed are very simple. You have a leased line or an ISDN or a VSAT, a digital camera, a scanner, computer system, printer, and a specialist physician who can be anywhere and can be linked to a fiber optic cable. The webcam provides the audio-visual capability, and this process can be repeated endlessly in all different terrains of the country and provide the necessary diagnostic support. The sequence of teleconsultation has been changing over the years. Typically, the patient and the primary care doctor are located remotely, and they link up with the tertiary center, and the tertiary senior consulting physician provides the necessary clinical support for the primary care physician. Today, the way we operate so far has been largely within the tertiary care center. A patient comes to the tertiary care center, is linked through a video conferencing mode to several specialties. There is a teleconference between the specialists, and a clinical diagnosis is made and treatment is recommended to the patient. So at the moment, prior to the COVID era, the focus has been largely high level of efficiency through minimal movement within the tertiary care facility, which are often large medical college hospitals. Today, because of the COVID issue, patients do not want to come to the hospital because of the fear of infection. And so today we are seeing telemedicine the way it should have been practiced all these years. And we see that because of the patient support, we are able to provide substantial remote consultation and healthcare treatments, which was not possible earlier on. Sequence of teleconsultation is basically the same: online video conference and teleconsultation between physicians and specialists. It's a point-to-point telemedicine system. There's no distinction between nodal and referral centers. They can be interchangeable, and any hospital can communicate to any other hospital. It can be multinodal, multi-referral environment, and operates over a spectrum of low and high bandwidth communications channels. Software is basically the electronic medical records. A telemedicine system does not become a telemedicine system until it is linked to the EMR, electronic medical record, of the hospital or the healthcare clinic or the primary healthcare center. So when it's linked to the EMR, it becomes a true telemedicine system. Until that point, it is basically a video conferencing unit. So we shall. So the advantages of electronic medical record is that it provides a complete medical record, complete investigative, diagnostic, and therapeutic history of a given patient throughout the lifetime of that patient. So the video conferencing unit is linked to the hospital information system, which in turn is linked to all of the diagnostic modalities like CT scans, MRI, ultrasound, ECG, electroencephalogram, whatever equipments there are. Virtually all the equipments, including monitors, IV infusion pumps, balloon pumps, every equipment in a hospital today is digital. And they all have digital outputs. They can all be linked through Internet of Medical Things to virtually every equipment in the hospital. And you can read out the data from each of those monitors and each of those ventilators when you're sitting in one location remotely, and be able to manage a patient even in a critical care unit. As you know, there are tertiary care physicians located in the heart of the city who are managing intensive care units in several locations in the city. Because of these remote Internet of Medical Things connectivity and integration, it is possible to do that. That is your classic prototype of telemedicine or critical care telemedicine function. Now, the delivery system, what is the current state of telemedicine and what is the future state? Today, telemedicine still remains provider-centric, and it's volume-driven, and it is fragmented because it is not on an e-health grid. It is not integrated to the hospital information system and therefore remains fragmented. The future state should be that telemedicine be patient-centric. It must be value-driven. That value must be for the patient, and it must be coordinated and integrated with the hospital information system so that the patient can derive the full benefit of such a digitized system. We just kind of jumping up and down here. Amrita, teleaudiology. Audiology is where your ENT doctor or the audiologist will check your ear and carefully evaluate the extent of hearing loss. And this can be completely remote. The patient does not need to come into a hospital in order to get a complete hearing checkup. Because of the nature of the electronic equipment that is currently available and which was not available in the years past, so the whole thing has now become remotely possible. Telestroke unit, patients who are experiencing a typical constellation of symptoms can be fully evaluated through a mobile CT ambulance that is able to move around and respond to any emergency, and patient can be given thrombolytic therapy right near the home, so that valuable, precious time is not lost and the brain damage will be minimized or non-existent. That's called the telestroke program. The telespeech therapy program. Small children who develop speech problems will require a prolonged period of rehabilitation, and quite a lot of speech therapy is needed for these children. This can be completely remote and can be guided by the telemedicine program, and they can continue their rehabilitation even in their own homes in the villages and get progressive, and can be checked by doctors and technicians and speech therapists at the hospital on a regular basis without having to necessarily to have a face-to-face meeting, except occasionally. Teledermatology is a very good and simple methodology by which you can even use a simple mobile phone to get high quality, high definition images that can be of diagnostic quality. Telepsychiatry has become very popular after the COVID pandemic, and COVID counseling can be entirely done through telemedicine, and there is no requirement to have a face-to-face counseling sessions ever. Telepathology today, again, all of the pathology equipment, including the microscope, is digital, and digital images are high definition images and can be used very effectively for accurate diagnosis and treatment. And images can be sent remotely to get a second opinion, or images from a peripheral site can be sent to an expert center, and you can. This is our telemedicine unit when it started 20 years ago. Telesurgical workshop, we are moving into tele education, where one can have surgical workshops with live demonstrations that can be transmitted to 10, 15, 20 different centers throughout the globe simultaneously, so that you can have a large number of student surgeons watch the experts and learn at a very low cost. And most of them will be in their own homes in the middle of the night and be able to watch and learn. Oh. think that's telepathology. Teleradiology is self-explanatory. This is teleendoscopy that we have piloted on several occasions very effectively. Tele-laser procedure. This is basically, as you know, we have a large diabetic population with retinal disease and retinopathy, and they are effectively screened remotely. They never have to come into the hospital. They can take a simple photograph of the retina through a fundus camera attached to a cell phone, and the images can be transmitted across hundreds of thousands of kilometers to a specialist vitreoretinal surgeon who can give a diagnosis and even treat, if necessary, through a laser system that can be transmitted through internet, either terrestrial lines or, or satellite links, and be able to treat and administer laser to bleeding points on the retina remotely without having to see the patient. Telecardiology is where echocardiography is done we did this as a pilot study of patients in Wayanad, the tribal population in Wayanad, where we were able to look at the cardiac valves for rheumatic heart disease in the tribal population. And these echocardiography could be transmitted to our cardiology department, and reports were written here while the technician is performing the echo in Wayanad forest. They go from home to home with a portable echocardiography machine and be able to do echocardiography remotely in more than 3,000 patients during the course of the study. And it has been remarkably effective. That's one of the pictures of our echocardiography center. Teleophthalmology, we spoke about. This is a mobile telemedicine unit, and this mobile unit can travel for weeks on end and visit village after village after village and do all of the diagnostic tests, including invasive procedures, and transmit all of the results and the images to our diagnostic center in Amrita. And the reports can be sent from the main hospital to the villages that the telemedicine van has been going through. And it has been remarkably effective. And a wide variety of diagnostic tests are done, including X-rays, blood tests, echocardiography, ultrasound, you name it. It can be done, endoscopy, fundoscopy, urological evaluation, all of which can be done through the mobile telemedicine unit that can move from one village to another. And these are all just the interior of the van. And that is our telemedicine van that is mounted in a railway carriage going for a disaster relief activity in flood-hit Bihar and in earthquake-hit Gujarat. And that's it. mHealth is now taking over in a very big way, because with 5G bandwidth, it is possible to use smartphones as telemedicine equipment. And one can now also link up with the hospital information system through apps and be able to look at previous records in both images and alphanumeric figures. And majority of the doctors and nurses own a smartphone or a tablet device, and this has been very useful in managing patients both in the hospital and in providing consultations outside. So the major concerns of healthcare organization is remote location and response time, which must be rapid. Wait times for hospital beds is a problem. Chronic labor shortage and improvement of patient safety and decision support systems, all of which will improve the quality of care and improve outcomes. mHealth is one very exciting development which is guaranteed to reduce expenses for healthcare organizations and facilitate staff-patient interactions and coordinate activities. It is also able to provide efficient workflow and processes and policies and place vital tools and current information real time in the hands of those who are managing patients. So, so mHealth, as you can see, a majority of the healthcare professionals are very proactive with mobile health. And today, virtually a lot of the physician to physician, physician to healthcare provider communications are all through smartphones, and both images as well as alphanumeric patient data can be transmitted through the phones. Doctors on call, doctors at home can be reached, and one can get a high quality consultation just through a smartphone, through WhatsApp and other mHealth apps that are currently available in large numbers. That's indicative of the rising popularity of mHealth with increasing use of various applications in a variety of healthcare domains. As you can see, in 89 to 93% of the doctors and healthcare providers strongly recommend mHealth applications. Now, the challenges of healthcare applications, of course, the difficulty with respect to maintaining privacy, and of course, the cost for those who are in the lower socioeconomic group. We all know that about 20 to 25% of our patients cannot afford internet and cannot afford a smartphone, and they will be frozen out of healthcare if not provided with the necessary equipments, which will be automatically the direction in which healthcare will gravitate, so that those at the lower levels of the pyramid must have some alternative so that they can be in the mainstream of healthcare. Healthcare wearables are now wireless wearables. We are getting very good at developing those wearables. There are several hundred of such digital systems that can transmit through a Bluetooth system to your smartphone all of the data that is needed by the doctor with alerts and everything else. So I think it is something that is now here to stay. How are we doing on time? Okay. I think what we will do is we will stop here, and maybe I can take some questions if that is okay.
Yes, sir.
So maybe we can open the floor for questions, and we will, since it is mentioned as a Q&A, I think we should give it some time. So delegates who are remotely located and are most welcome to participate.
Thank you so much for that amazing session, sir. Now, moving on to the question and answer session, I request all the participants to kindly raise your queries in the chat box. Now, moving on to the first question from Vasu Gaudam. And the question is, shall we hear from you the major changes that emerged in your life after joining EAMS?
Major changes in my life after joining. Well, it was quite a journey, coming and working with our people here in Kerala. And the experience of developing a healthcare facility has been a journey that has been full of a variety of experiences. I have been very, very impressed by our people here in Kerala who are so knowledgeable and so focused with a lot of understanding of what healthcare is all about. And even those who are not so economically well off are extremely knowledgeable. And so it has been a great pleasure working in Kerala with our people, unlike my experience in Mumbai, which was a little different from what it was in Kerala. The people are very knowledgeable, they ask the right questions, they are very eager to take care, to follow instructions meticulously. And I did not see any difference between educated Westerners and our people here in Kerala. They are very bright, very, very competent, and very well read. So that was one of the experiences which I was very surprised when I continued to be here. Also, one of the things that I never expected was when I come back to Kerala, my home is in Attikal, Travancore district. When I came back to India, I never thought that the quality of healthcare in so many centers in Kerala is really very, very good and comparable to that of Western institutions. I was amazed at the extent of diagnostic services and treatments and the skill of the surgeons. It was truly amazing. We had the same systems and processes, the same quality control, the same level of technology, the same outcomes in so many areas and at the same time, the costs are so much less than in the West. Our ability to do so well with so little is truly amazing. Our students are very, very bright. They're just extremely knowledgeable, very curious, very innovative, and eager to learn and work towards providing the best possible care for our patients. So those were some of the striking experiences that I had, and it's been a journey that I've loved because of the interaction with our people here and at various levels.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now moving on to the next question from Anjana Unnikrishnan.
Yeah.
The question is, sir, how do you think the integration of AI and machine learning be applied in the telemedicine sector considering the current technology?
Well, AI has gone in a big way in machine learning too, in a very big way with telemedicine. Now, telemedicine, as I said, is not just remote connectivity and consultation. Telemedicine has the ability through its audiovisual connectivity, because of the digitalization of all of the equipment, even areas that you won't realize that AI can play a major role is in the area of pathology. So when a small tumor is taken from somebody at surgery and sent to pathology, the pathologist the whole process is so automated that the slide is prepared automatically and it's scanned, and the digitized scan can be viewed in a high resolution computer screen and can be sent across the globe to an alternative center if necessary for a second opinion, so that second opinion. And also the digital images of pathology slides can be stored on the cloud, and literally globally hundreds of millions of slides are being stored after digitization, and that is used as big data for studying and developing AI applications. And these AI applications are going to make pathology diagnosis by humans a thing of the past. This computer system will be able to, using the cloud stored data, they'll be able to diagnose complex pathologies and tumors very readily. You can have similar functions being seen in radiology, where radiologists are seriously afraid of losing their jobs. So you will have AI and machine learning coming in a big way, not only through telemedicine necessarily, but telemedicine will allow AI-based applications and accurate diagnostics remotely. So, so these are some of the few advantages. There are many applications that will come up once AI comes in a big way. There are other areas which are coming up, like 3D printing, where you can print not only body parts, but also equipments. Like, for instance, during the COVID, they were able to use 3D printing to build monitors and ventilators and infusion pumps for patients because they ran out of all these equipments globally. And they were able to crank up and generate a lot of equipment through 3D printing.
Thank you, sir. Now moving on to the next question from Munira Kalam. Sir, what are the major challenges and barriers in introducing telemedicine to a rural or remote health?
Well, change management, behavioral change is the single most important thing to make any program a success. As you know, in our rural villages where there are no facilities, particularly in northern India and central India, it's very important that people are used to going from the villages to tertiary centers in big cities, and they do not wait or trust the village doctor, or they feel that they have something serious, they need to see a specialist and they have to go to a specialist center. So they come to a major specialist center in the big city, and there are no beds, there is nothing. They sit on the footpath on the streets, waiting for the doctor to finally get around to seeing them. Part of the problem is that scenario repeats itself everywhere today. The concept of remote, the concept of a lack of a face-to-face communication with the physician is still a dampener. It is something that doesn't come easily to most patients. Now, the pandemic has changed it partially, and now patients are fully aware of how important it is to maintain distance, and even a healthcare facility can be a source of infection, and it is necessary to be judicious in their trips to the hospital, and they can manage a lot of illnesses which are minor, can all be managed close to home with their local primary care doctor, who will be able to determine if there is something serious and something needs to be done. They can get a teleconsultation and determine whether it is necessary to go to a hospital or not. So I think that it is our own mindset that is an impediment to the progress of digital health.
Thank you, sir. Now moving on to the last question. This question is from Ravindra Singh, and the question is it necessary to be registered under the Clinical Establishment Act to run a telemedicine service in accessible areas?
Ravi, when you say accessible areas, are you meaning in the cities?
I think it's inaccessible areas.
Inaccessible area, okay. In inaccessible areas, yes. Now, with the COVID pandemic, the government has moved very fast, and what it has not been able to do in 20 years, it has done very rapidly and provided all of the details about the statutory requirements and mandatory training requirements, and registration has been provided so that a physician who practices telemedicine can now be fully accredited and registered, and he or she will be able to practice telemedicine wherever they are located.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time and effort in answering our queries. It would be great if someone could give a feedback for this session.
Good evening, one and all. I'm Shino Daniel. First of all, I want to thank you, sir, for delivering us such an enlightening section, great presentation style, with lot of opportunity to ask questions on the topic, application of telemedicine and e-health experience, covering all the aspects such as objectives of telemedicine, surveys, click and application, their benefits, achievement, teleconsulting, their therapies, and mobile telemedicine unit of Amarda. And also the last one, M-App Health, was the most interesting one, which made us all both enjoyable and informative throughout the section. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shino. Now, I kindly request all the participants to fill the feedback form given in the chat box. Now, I would like to call upon Ms. Anjali PS to convey the vote of thanks.
Afsana, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you, dear. So, good evening, all. First of all, thank you, SYNAPSIS 21, for giving me an opportunity to express my gratitude in this session. We are very glad to have all the participants in the second day of the event and the cooperation we have. Moreover, I felicitate Dr. Prem Nair, sir, for taking time for us in between your busy schedule and enlightening us with your knowledge. I also acknowledge you for giving us an excellent coverage on application of telemedicine and e-health and your Amruta experience. Now, as a token of love and appreciation, and for the great insights you showered on us, we would like to show our gratitude by sharing with you a virtual memento. Sir, kindly accept this virtual memento, which we consider as a representation of our boundless gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your warmth and friendliness. And I wish the program all success in the days ahead. And
Thank you, sir.
particularly wish your students all the very best in their career.
Thank you, sir. Now, I'm thankful for each and everyone who stand beside us till the end of this day, especially Darshna ma'am for giving us an astonishing introduction of the chief guest of our session. My sincere gratitude to Blaze, IEEE EMBS SBC, and IEEE SBF TKMIT, and the collaborators Telemedicine Society of India and Digital Health India Association, who are being the backbone of this symposium. Let me also take this opportunity to thank IEEE Kerala section and Mr. Allen, the section ECC, for the immense support being extended to us. I thank Ms. Afsana for her wonderful comparing and Shino for sharing his feedback for the session. And it would be ungrateful if I had ended up not acknowledging the participants. The response you give are beyond words. Once again, thank you all for attending the session. Thank you.
As we are reaching the end of our session of the day, I'd like to once again thank our speaker, Dr. Prem Nair, for taking out time from his busy schedule and enlightening us with impeccable knowledge. Once again, on behalf of me and my team members, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. We will be joining shortly with Mr. Vimal Wakhlu for the next session on the topic, Implementing Telemedicine and Digital Health, Leveraging Emerging Technologies. Stay tuned or join back in 20 minutes by using the same link on both YouTube and Zoom. Once again, thank you all and have a good day ahead. This is Afsana signing off.
Good evening, sir. Welcome to the session. Would you like to try sharing your presentation, sir?
Yeah. Just a moment. Is the presentation visible? Hello?
No, sir.
Just a moment. You're giving me screen sharing rights? Is it visible now?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, I want to try out whether the audio is working. Okay, just help me with that. Can you hear this?
Yes, sir.
I'm Sakib Sheikh. I lost my sight when I was 7.
It's audible?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, thank you. So I think we start at 7:30.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We will be starting our session within 5 minutes. Sir, do you have any trouble in sharing your slide?
Sorry, was there any problem in sharing? I mean, when I displayed my slides? Hello?
No, sir.
No, it is visible, sir.
Visible, and it was audible also when I tried to play the audio?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yeah, okay.
Advances in technology and understanding of illness, together with an expanded workforce, will allow us to provide more services with higher quality, says John Hutton. Honorable Speaker, Mr. Vimal Wakhlu, the President, Telemedicine Society of India, our mentor, other dignitaries, and all the participants. Good evening and welcome you all to the fourth talk of the series, Synapsis 21, Discover the Difference, organized by the Department of Biomedical Engineering, IEEE EMBS Student Branch Chapter, and IEEE Student Branch of TKM Institute of Technology, allied with IEEE EMBS Kerala Chapter, Telemedicine Society Kerala Chapter, and Digital Health India Association. Let's start the session formally by inviting IEEE EMBS SBC TKMIT faculty advisor, Dr. Nidavi Panikar, to introduce our honored speaker. Ma'am, please.
Hi, good evening, one and all. On the second day of Synapsis 21, we are indeed blessed with the presence of Mr. Vimal Wakhlu. Mr. Vimal Wakhlu, a well-known enthusiast in the field of telecom and information technology. He was the former chairman and managing director of Telecommunications Consultants India Limited, TCIL. A Bachelor of Engineering from National Institute of Technology, Srinagar in 1977, and MBA Marketing. He started his career with NHPC in 1977, followed by Overseas Communication Services till 1983. He worked for Department of Telecom from 1983 to 2000 and BSNL from 2000 to 2006 in various capacities, including Director Satellite Maintenance, Western Telecom Region, and General Manager Mobile Services in Maharashtra and the Northeast Circles. Since December 2006, he has been with TCIL in various capacities. He has been instrumental in the successful implementation of the prestigious Government of India Pan-African E-Network project, a project envisioned by Dr. APJ Abdul Kollam, the former President of India, providing a platform to 48 nations in Africa to India for education and health services. He has been a visiting faculty on business of telecom management in Nasi Monji Institute of Management and Advanced Mobile Communication Systems in University of Mumbai, Pune University, and Advanced Level Telecom Training Center. He is a certified project management professional of the Project Management Institute of the United States. Mr. Vimal Wakhlu portrays his esteemed services as an active member of several institutional societies. He is a live fellow of IEEE, a member of IEEE, and as part of executive committee of the Delhi section. He holds the post of vice chairman of ITU APT Foundation of India. Mr. Wakhlu is also a life member of our Telemedicine Society of India. Mr. Wakhlu is a telecom professional with 44 years of experience in the field of telecom and information technology, including e-networks, mobile communications, satellite communications, optical communications, troposcatter communication, data transmission, maritime communications, and radio communication. It is our privilege and honor to welcome Mr. Vimal Wakhlu to Synapsis 21. Welcome you, sir, and over to your session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful introduction. Without holding up the session, I would like to welcome Mr. Vimal Wakhlu, the President of Telemedicine Society of India, to give us a presentation on the topic, Implementing Telemedicine and Digital Health, Leveraging Emerging Technologies. Sir, please.
Thank you for the introduction, Nida. Good evening, all my friends from Kerala. It's a pleasure and honor to be here with you all this evening and share my thoughts with all of you, particularly the young people over here. I want to mention something about my roots. Of course, Nida has mentioned, I was born in this beautiful city of Srinagar, Kashmir. And since I was good at mathematics and hated dissections, so I opted for engineering as a part of my, curriculum, and electronics and telecom was my subject. Now, it so happened that I was in this beautiful campus of NIT Srinagar, which recently has been ranked as one of the most beautiful campuses in the country. So there are a lot of things that happened there, and one of the best things that happened to me there was introduction to this biomedical engineering. This was one of the subjects in my final year engineering, and there I was fascinated by this cybernetics as a model for a human brain, mathematical modeling. But there were a lot of challenges in those days. Still, I'm talking about it's 5 decades back, almost half a century. That time, still the tubes were in vogue. Transistors had taken over, chips were there. But still, for a lot of applications, still it was the era of tubes. And we just calculated that in case we were to sort of create a brain electronically using the resources available at that point of time, this would be the size of the Empire State Building of United States of America. That was the tallest building in the world, the biggest one at that particular point of time. And that's not all, because we are using tubes and a lot of heat would be generated. So it would need cooling, and it will need a Niagara waterfalls to cool it. So it has been a major transition in these 50 years, from tubes to transistors to ICs to microchips, and a sea change in computing power has happened. It has led to a total transformation in the memory power. And of course, micro miniaturization in the manufacturing devices. And it has led to a lot of revolution. And this is where the things have changed in these years. And since I understand the majority of the people here are from biomedical engineering field, I thought I must share this thought process with you, because this sort of passion never left me after that. Although at that point, there was not much development in the domain in the country. And I joined NHPC as my first job. And Nida has already mentioned all these. And, I also worked in overseas communication, where my first major project was Indo-USSR troposcatter link. This was a big challenge for India and USSR at that particular point of time. Those who are familiar with the telecom, they'll understand it was a single link, 600 kilometers, 690 kilometers. That's almost 700 kilometers. Single hop in the troposcatter region. It was an amazing project in 1981. And there were a lot of things I learned from there, that nothing is impossible. So, of course, it's already been mentioned, I worked in these different domains of satellite, coaxial, then, optical fiber communication. And I was lucky to work always when they just came into the country at that particular point of time, and including the mobile services, which happened in 2001 in BSNL, the first mobile network, and also the maritime communication. Now, there was a mention about Pan-Africa e-network project also. So this was a time when I took a major decision in my life. And I keep quoting this because Dr. Kollam, who I consider my guru, he announced in the African Parliament about this project, India-Africa Pan-African e-network project. So it was for health and education, linking 53 countries in Africa to India for health and education purposes. All the leading hospitals from India and all the leading universities of India were involved in this project. So at that particular point of time, I left my job, a regular job of Indian Telecom Service, and joined TCIL. With against the wishes of my well-wishers, they felt that I'm jumping out of the window, because there was a lot of challenge in TCL also that at that particular point of time. But I feel that was the best decision I took in my life, and it was a transformation of all sorts with this project, and a lot of things I learned from Dr. Kollam. So since a lot of you people, because you're basically engineers, and let me tell you that engineers can get projects. Engineers will be able to contribute if they understand the challenges faced by the people. So in a country like India, we're faced with a lot of challenges, and hence the opportunities are tremendous, whether it's the food sector, health sector, and also, the environment. So there are a lot of doctors also, I understand here. So they'll understand that all these things, what the challenges I am putting here, because for paucity of time, I won't be able to go into the details of each one of them. These are also related to health, all of them, because limitation of doctors, we have a lot of people living in rural areas, and 1.37 billion people. It's a big, huge challenge in every domain. And with each of these challenges, definitely there'll be opportunities, whether it's the ones I have mentioned so far, or water, energy, disaster management, and of course, also financial inclusion, which leads to a lot of slums in places like Mumbai, may not be Kerala. Of course, security is another challenge which we are faced with, but it may not be relevant right now, but governance is, communication is, and also the biggest challenge we face is corruption in the country. So as young people, I thought it's very important for you to be aware and find a solution to all these problems. And sustainable development goals, the goals which were supposed to be, which are supposed to be completed by the year 2030, they are big, big challenges in themselves, which we have to complete. And here you see challenge number 3, sustainable goal number 3, that is good health and well-being. So there is a lot of things in all this domain that engineers can do, electronic engineers can do, and the biomedical engineers in particular can do. Now, biggest challenge we are facing right now is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. There has been a shortage of healthcare professionals, shortage of hospital beds, ventilators, oxygen, critical medicines. But the fallout of the pandemic has been that the government of India has approved the telemedicine guidelines last year in March for all domains like allopathy, Ayurveda, Unani, and homeopathy. This has led to a major shift in the way the medical business or medicine is being practiced in this country. So, because today's topic is about the emerging technologies, how they can contribute towards digital health and also telemedicine. So here, one such technology is artificial intelligence, and this is really transforming the whole medical domain, Internet of Things. another domain. Blockchain, another domain. E-network platforms, which I mentioned about Pan-Africa, was a good example of that. Extended reality. Then similarly, big data analytics. These are all domains which are playing a role in the medical domain. Health services, digital twins, drones, 3D printing, robotics, tele-ICU, and one of the most futuristic one is the stem cell technology, which I think will be a great revolution in maybe the next decade. Now, coming to telemedicine and digital health, and of course, since a majority of you are from biomedical background, I need not explain what telemedicine is all about. You already know it, that it's delivery of health services, leveraging information and communication technology, and it practically encompasses everything. And digital health also, its use of technology like computer platforms, connectivity, software, sensors, and application in general to all domains of health. Now, coming to e-network platforms, I have already explained that e-education plays a big role, for example, in the virtual classrooms, virtual universities, collaborative research, and it includes research in health, centers of excellence replication, digital content and libraries, and skill enabling processes. These are some of the ones. And in the health domain, like for the digital health, continued medical education. That's a big thing. Live demo of surgeries. We had also implemented the SARC e-network with countries like Afghanistan, Bhutan, Nepal being part of that. And there was a huge demand from people from Afghanistan to have live demos of surgeries from India, so that there'll be a capacity building. Similarly, there are other domains in health services where the digital health e-networks play a big role. Now here, this is one of the things that at Telemedicine Society of India, we have been aggressively persuading the governments all over the country, all the state governments, to have this. There are some pilots happening in the public-private partnership mode. Here, because I mentioned there are 1.37 billion people in the country, and 70% of India lives in villages. And that means around 1 billion people live in villages. And we have limited number of doctors, only 250,000 when the villages are 650,000. So, in the next decade or two, we are not going to have a doctor in every rural health center. So the proposal we gave, and please listen to this carefully, because there are a lot of opportunities for biomedical engineers in this. We propose a kit, a biomedical engineering kit, a medical kit, wherein it's all the diagnostic kits like 12-channel ECG monitor, blood pressure monitor, glucometer, etc., in a backpack with a local boy in the village who's a local boy who has some knowledge about English, so that he can sort of understand the use of the instruments. He is also equipped with a laptop and a mobile phone. And whenever somebody falls sick in the village, they simply dial his toll-free number. He goes to the village sick person's home, opens his laptop, and establishes a link with the main sort of call center, which is manned by doctors round the clock in the city. The doctor sees the patient and asks the paramedic to conduct tests if necessary. The results are directly displayed on the screen of the doctor, because we are using DICOM compatible interface here. And finally, if the doctor is able to diagnose and take corrective measures, the medicines are prescribed. But if the doctor has some doubt, can take the specialist on the line, and the two together can take a decision. And if the patient is too serious for remote monitoring and remote health, so they know the location of the paramedic by virtue of his smartphone, and they can send ambulance from the nearest hospital to that village, and from there the Ayushman Bharat starts. This is our dream project, and I want all of you to contribute towards this. There will be a public-private partnership where private enterprise invests into equipment, etc., and the government into the doctor's salary, the connectivity, etc. So here,
this
there is
slide
another
so that
news.
all of you know, join into one, not just celebrate, because he's based in Bhubaneswar, he's built something that we've not seen ever before, but also how can we support, how can we contribute? And because somewhere I think that a solution like this, if it was done anywhere in the world, everyone would be talking about it. He's been doing it all alone and brought it to us. How can we support? But before you believe me, just let's get him to, you know, let's just see what his device can do.
Hi, thank you everyone. Thank you, sir, and your story. So now we are going to test the health parameters for Sodha. So can you place your finger here?
Yeah.
So the device started collecting the data. So test is done. For her, hemoglobin is 12.4, oxygen saturation is 98, bilirubin is 0.82, creatinine is 0.73, and random glucose is 120. So all these tests done within less than 10 seconds.
Wow.
And you are.
So, you know, this also, if it's a part of the kit, I hope everybody was able to hear it clearly. Hello.
Yes, sir.
It was audible clearly?
Yes, sir, it was audible.
Okay. So if this is a part of the rural kit, a rural telemedicine kit, imagine even blood tests become, I mean, in the conventional blood tests become a part of the past. Now, in a country like India, we also have a lot of faith in Ayurveda, and Kerala also is the leader in this domain. And it's, we know Ayurveda is Tridosh based, Vat, Kaph, Pitta. And the challenge is always, because Nadi Parikshan, monitoring the pulse, that is a challenge. And there are people who have come with a solution to this also. It's called Nadi Tarangani. And here you can split the Fourier transform into Vat, Kaph, and Pitta. And the Ayurveda Acharya can take a decision based on that. So this also can be part of the kit. Similarly, when I talk about integrated system of medicine, not being biased towards any particular system, even homeopathy, because now we have a patient-doctor interaction. So that is the mainstay of homeopathy. The doctor can make use of software for his convenience, and the remedy kit can be with the paramedic. Same paramedic. So this is how we can take the health services into the rural areas. Now, another domain which sort of, you know, excites me is, of course, the people with physical challenge. Like there are people with permanent disabilities like visual challenge, neural disorders, hearing disorders. There are people with autism, children with autism in particular. There are also people with temporary challenges like stroke related or injury related who need to be remedied. For that, I mentioned artificial intelligence in the beginning, and there are solutions possible. Like this is, you know, some people have color visual deficiency, and this is a CVD helper which can help in this particular process. Similarly, we have visual challenged people who are not able to see at all. So there is this app you might have seen from Seeing AI from Microsoft, and the visual, because there are three components of the visual disabilities: recognizing individuals, you know, understanding the emotions and faces, and understanding the product and services while shopping. These are some of the challenges people are faced with. But here also, you see this video, you might have seen also some of you.
I'm Saqib Sheikh. I lost my sight when I was 7. And shortly after that, I went to a school for the blind. And that's where I was introduced to talking computers. And that really opened up a whole new world of opportunities. I joined Microsoft 10 years ago as a software engineer. I love making things which improve people's lives. And one of the things I've always dreamt of since I was at university was this idea of something that could tell you at any moment what's going on around you.
I think it's a man jumping in the air doing a trick on a skateboard.
I teamed up with like-minded engineers to make an app which lets you know who and what is around you. It's based on top of the Microsoft Intelligence APIs, which makes it so much easier to make this kind of thing. The app runs on smartphones, but also on the Pivot Head smart glasses. When you're talking to a bigger group, sometimes you can talk and there's no response and you think, is everyone listening really well, or are they half asleep? And you never know.
I see two faces, 40-year-old man with a beard looking surprised, 20-year-old woman looking happy.
The app can describe the general age and gender of the people around me and what their emotions are, which is incredible. One of the things that's most useful about the app is the ability to read out text.
Hello, good afternoon. Here's your menu.
Great, thank you. I can use the app on my phone to take a picture of the menu, and it's going to guide me on how to take that correct photo.
Move camera to the bottom right and away from the document.
And then it'll recognize the text. Read me the headings.
I see appetizers, salads, paninis, pizzas, pastas.
Years ago, this was science fiction. I never thought it would be something that you could actually do. But artificial intelligence is improving at an ever faster rate. And I'm really excited to see where we can take this.
For the sake of time, I'm just cutting this short. But it's so exciting that a person with a visual challenge himself has developed this app. Hats off to this Saqib Sheikh. We need many more people like that. Similarly, this COVID early detection, using a smartphone, wherein seeing the voice sample, people, the artificial intelligence can tell people what stage you are or you need to take a particular action. One of the areas that really excite me, and of course, there's not much time, otherwise I'll give you some background of my interest in this. But at TCIL, we also, promoted this fundus camera for rural areas with IIT Delhi. We funded that project. But the challenge was that the doctor at the other end was not able to really make out much out of it because you need an expert for that. So now with artificial intelligence, you will be able to directly get information about number of diseases, including cancer, just by peeping into the eyes. Maybe next time, whenever we have time, I'll elaborate on what my experience was with this earlier, and which made me get more and more excited about it. So this is one major area where the development has happened in a big way, and it's happening further. Now, children with neurological disorders, this is an exoskeleton which has been developed in United States. And this will help people with neurological disorders who can't otherwise walk to walk. Here is another one for neurological challenge for people who can only move their eyes, nothing else. It's called Eye of Horus. It's developed in Spain, where again, leveraging artificial intelligence, the person will be able to move his chair, move everything around. So this in some of the smart cities is being introduced. Here,
Mein Name ist André von Ruschen, bin 44 Jahre, komme aus Norddeutschland, bin verheiratet, habe einen Sohn, ganz normales Alltagsleben, Haus, Garten, ganz normal, sag ich mal. Ich hatte vor 13 Jahren einen Autounfall. Wie es da letztendlich zugekommen ist, kann ich nicht sagen, weiß ich nicht mehr. Meine Frau war damals schwanger. Als der Arzt mir dann sagte, dass ich querschnittgelähmt bin und dass ich nie wieder laufen kann, das ist natürlich eine Welt für mich zusammengebrochen.
My name is Andreas Reinauer. I'm the product manager for Rewalk. I'm team leader for the Cyberthlon and responsible for spinal cord injured products here in Europe. The mission statement is to improve the health and life of patients with lower leg disabilities. We are building right now an exoskeleton which enables spinal cord injured people to stand up, walk and turn. And in Europe, we can even walk.
Actually, there is a limited time, so you must have seen that he is able to move, and of course, he moves up and down the stairs also. Maybe you can see the video at leisure. Similarly, children with dyslexia, you know, there is a detective which enables children. Now, children with autism spectral disorder, there is a Mozo robo developed in UAE. This helps such children with autism in a big way to overcome their difficulty, shyness, discomfort, etc. Similarly, we have post-cerebral stroke rehabilitation. It's called robotic leg advancement. This has been developed in United States of America. And there are solutions for quadriplegia as well, where it's completely brain-controlled wheelchair which can be controlled with EEG. So big beneficiaries like amputees and other people who otherwise, are neck down in a mess. Now, there are robotics also in healthcare, which plays a major role in patient management, in robotic surgeries, and many other applications. So also taking care of elderly people with physical challenges and senior citizens who are not able to manage their affairs. So mobility also, it's possible to drive despite physical challenges. And here you can see this chair where the gentleman, he simply sets the destination the way we do on the Google map, and the chair follows that route. So it has been developed in MIT, its personal robotic group, OSU, completely autonomous chairs. Besides this, now with the advent of 5G, we'll be able to get autonomous cars where the physically challenged people don't need to do anything. But before that also, there are people who have done a brain-controlled driving using brain-computer interface. Since majority of you are familiar with biomedical engineering, you must be familiar with this as well. Now, this is something which really excites me, and it has been developed in India. It's called Shirojin Bridge. I think a lot of people over here must have heard about it. It has been developed by ABES Engineering College in Ghaziabad. Imagine a person who is visually challenged speaking to a deaf and dumb person. Because under normal conditions, a person who's blind can use his voice and the other person will be able to hear him. But if a deaf and dumb person at the other end, he'll not be able to hear that. Then how do they communicate? It's using this bridge, which converts text into speech, speech into text, and that is how they're able to communicate. And in my opinion, this is also a great thing, a great service they have done to people. Now, coming to other domains other than artificial intelligence, blockchain, health data protection. Nowadays, the biggest challenge we are faced with is the patient data gets leaked, and patients keep getting calls, spurious calls that we'll do this for you and that for you, which is not desirable. So, and it has implications in terms of also insurance. So blockchain ensures, those of you are familiar, there is a public and a private key, and private key is always with the patient. So it is his choice to whom he allows access to the data and for how much time, and it cannot be copied. So that's a big opportunity. Similarly, medical education, prevention of fake certificates, because there are fake doctors also getting fake certificates from many parts of the country, and research authentication. Blockchain plays a big role. Big data analytics, this also in the management of pandemics, as we have seen recently, there have been apps which have been able to take care of that in many countries. And use of electronic health records, this also helps in predictive analysis, helps the government in deploying resources and preventing abuse of drugs, etc. A lot of things that can be done in the health domain as well when it comes to big data analytics. When it comes to Internet of Things, it's so exciting. You must have heard about ingestible sensors, sensors which you just consume, just with drink along with water. It remains in the guts. It can help in remote monitoring the patients. There are, for glucose monitoring, it's not necessary to have medicine or injection of, for diabetes continuously. So the medicine can be administered as and when demanded by the body, which can be done with the help of sensors. So it's a big boon for people with chronic patients. And it also helps in advanced diagnostics. So this is a domain where sky is the limit. I think, there is huge potential for biomedical engineers to work on this. 3D printing, my God. It's, here also, there are opportunities when it comes to dentistry, bones, all these prosthetics, and using the bio ink as the printing material. So this is going to be the future. The steel, steel dentistry and bones are going to be thing of the past after some time. Then extended reality. This is another domain which has a lot applications in the healthcare, like post-trauma stress management, Parkinson's disease management, patient phobia management, rehabilitation of patients, robotic surgeries in the domain of pain reduction, and also precision biopsies. This extended reality also helps in understanding anatomy. I mentioned that I did not join medical domain, though I was interested, because I hated dissections. So there is no need for dissections. If there would have been extended reality in those days, I would have probably joined the domain of medicine. So this is how the transformation has undergone, and you can understand anatomy in a better way than just dissecting frogs. Special surgeries can be performed with extended reality, and capacity building in a big way can be done. And as I mentioned, stem cell technology is something which is the final frontier in the healthcare technology management. You can grow practically every part of the body, as you can see here, starting with the brain, kidneys, lungs, stomach, heart, liver, etc., just by using stem cell technology. A lot of people in the medical domain are aware of this, and this might be the future of organ replacement after some time, instead of transformation. Now, there are drones also, which are used in a healthcare system for supply of in the locations like defibs. You can take a defibrillator to a remote location and save a life somewhere. Or if blood is to be given to somebody, or anti-venin, like in case of a jungle, or medicines, oxygen, a real lifesaver, drones in the healthcare, and also blood samples from patients from remote locations. Digital twins in the health sector. It's a marriage of the physical world and the virtual world, digitizing the human body using virtual simulations. It's possible to predict the impact of therapy on a particular patient and in turn administer precision medicine instead of generalizing the medicine. You must have seen during the pandemic, there was a total chaos like those, elephant and the 9 blind men, somebody saying use this medicine, then the other saying do use this. But if we have a thing like digital twin for each patient, they'll be given special, that particular medicine, and it'll ensure that people are taken care of. Now, the reason I have put this slide here is that all these people have one thing in common. They're all great men, as you can see from here. And there is a video called Inspirational Video. I have given the link here. You can see at leisure how these people with physical challenges, all of them, they rose to the highest level in the world. And with your aid in biomedical engineering, maybe you can create many more such people. Conclusions. That emerging technologies can play a crucial role in mitigating the challenges faced by people in the health sector. Telemedicine and digital health can play a crucial role in controlling pandemics, and particularly in the rural areas, it can play a big role. For a country like India with shortage of resources, there is no other alternative but to leverage technology. The biggest shortage we face is the human resources. Where are the doctors? There are limited number of doctors in the country. They are, not even meeting 10% of our requirement. So a collaborative effort between health specialists, technologists, investors can prove to be a turning point in helping billions of people the world over. Now, if we have the time, I kept 5 minutes for some of my thoughts, which I feel I should share with you. I'm talking about the young people over here, because normally I share these thoughts with the young people. So some of the thoughts, I don't know whether you are able to recognize this particular structure over here. Anybody? Well, this is Dilwara Temple. And there's a famous story about it, that there were workers working over there. And in addition to constructing the temples, they were constructing a temple with their own resources, the workers. So one gentleman asked one of the workers, what are you doing here? He said, I'm just breaking stones, that's all. The second worker was asked, and he said, well, earning bread for my family. And the third one said that, oh, I'm doing it, I'm building a temple for the God. So this is the difference in attitude. So when you are doing something, be passionate about it. That's a very important thing. And this story, I think all of us are familiar with, the lion and the mouse story. This is about people who want to be in business, who want to be entrepreneurs. For them, the lessons are respect one and all, big or small. Value your business partners, big or small. You'll never see bad times. This I can say with experience. And this is a story which a lot of you would be familiar about. It's the vanilla ice cream and the car. This story, of course, is about General Motors, and a true story that when somebody who purchased a new car from General Motors went with his family to enjoy ice cream, vanilla ice cream was the favorite. So the car did not start after that. So when he went to the shop, and second time when he purchased some other ice cream, it worked. So he gave this feedback to the car company. It was dismissed as trash. But when he approached the CEO of the company, he said, no, investigate. And finally, they came to know the truth. You are aware, or maybe we can discuss next time. But the lessons are customer is always right, and treat customer like God. You'll always be a winner. So here is another one, always share knowledge. Some people have a tendency for keeping knowledge to themselves. They feel that by keeping knowledge to themselves, they gain importance, but it's not true. Take the case of a village well. When people draw water out of a village well, fresh water comes into it. And same thing applies to knowledge. The village well water does not come out, it'll rot over there. That's what exactly happens. Same thing happens to that knowledge. It's no use after some time. And one thing which is true, and which Dr. Kalam always has been mentioning, that what worked for yesterday will not work today. So change is the truth of life. We are born with infinite potential. Continuously rediscover yourself. Never in your life feel that, no, yeah, now I have achieved and this is the end of it. Never. So there is another thing about competition. All of us know that the world is full of competition, starting with the school education. But, what happened sometime, even jobs later on, every stage, and after that, among the, you can say companies, there is a huge competition. Countries, there is a competition. But once I was attending a lesson on management, it was a course on management. And there was a guy from Vivek Institute. He made a statement, competition is for the mediocre. I could not digest it, to tell you honestly, because he also mentioned that tendency to outdo others is a mental disease. And this led me to a lot of argument with that guy, with that teacher. But years later, I realized that he was absolutely right. And of course, there is no time. I had thought that we'll have a poll on this within this webinar, but due to shortage of time, maybe we can't. But here you can see a picture on your right side. It's, can anybody recognize this guy? If not, it's Sergei Buka. Sergei Buka is a person who broke world record in pole vault 35 times, unbroken record for 21 years. And he was asked, how do you manage this? Nobody has been able to break your record on all these years. He said, simple, I just try to improve upon myself. I don't look at others. If I look at others, I'll lose my stamina. So my I would say, request to all of you young people over here is, be like Sergei Buka. Be your own competitor, and you'll see sky is the limit. And when it comes to pandemic, a lot of people say that it's a misfortune. We have lost jobs and everything. But this was also the period when there were many people, entrepreneurs, who went into developing masks, PPEs, sanitizers, ventilators, vaccine, and so on. So here I said, Dr. Kalam is my guru. He says, be like an eagle. All birds find shelters during a rain, but eagles avoid rain by flying above clouds. This is what he says. And also that for shining like a sun, you have to burn like a sun first. That's very important. You can't shine like a sun if you don't burn. And for those people here who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to do some special, of Dr. Kalam, from his book, Ignited Minds, he says, thinking is the capital, enterprise is the way, hard work is the solution. That's all I have to say. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session on emerging technologies in telemedicine and digital health. Now, let's move on to the question and answer session. Participants, if you have any questions, you can put up on the chat board so that I can read it out for you. Sir, so the first question is from Yukil. He's asking how to make linked of stem cell technology implementing telemetry technology.
Could you repeat the question?
How to make linked of stem cell technology implementing telemetry technology.
Telemetry, you said.
Yes, sir.
Well, sorry, the question is not clear to me because stem cell technology, as you know, if the gentleman who has asked the question is aware, it is basically growing the stem cells. So telemetry can be used in maybe developing the information from information about the specific patient for whom this particular organ is being developed. If that is what is meant, probably then the answer is the same. That is the limitation up to which you can go when it comes to telemetry. I mean, I don't understand how telemetry can help in stem cell technology. Otherwise.
Okay, sir. Vasu S. Gautam is asking, sir, how would a telemedicine program support our larger healthcare system?
Well, you know, if you have seen my, during the presentation, I mentioned about the rural telehealth system. So, because 1 billion people live in the villages. So, if we implement that, that will reach all people. And as I mentioned, it's an integrated approach where up to the hospitalization level, everything is covered. So it will be a big leap forward when it comes to the health services. Then second part is collaborative research in the domain of healthcare, you know, which some of the examples I already gave. There are centers for excellence in healthcare, like one is coming at IIT Kanpur also. It's a collaboration between SGPGI Lucknow and IIT Kanpur. So there'll be similar collaborations which will help in research in this particular domain. And of course, artificial intelligence, you know, IoT and other things which I mentioned, they play a big role as already mentioned over here.
Okay, sir. The next question is from Meera Padmakumar. She's asking, sir, cost has always been a challenge for novel technologies, especially in the healthcare sector. Is there any way to overcome the same in the future?
Well, yeah, it's a good question in the sense that a lot of entrepreneurs face this particular challenge. But let me tell you that, you know, if there is a potential in a particular product, a particular device which you develop, there are a lot of angel investors who come forward. And because it's going to be a big game changer, there'll be people who would come forward to invest also. So in this, a good example is like, for example, Paytm. It started in India and investors came from abroad to support it. And Paytm today is one of the best apps you can find, which has captured so much of market share. So this is what happens when any product has potential, people come forward to support it. That's the thing.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
The next question is from Rahma R. Sir, how reliable is it for people of health sector during these pandemic situations to depend on telemedicine and its delivery too?
Okay, you know, I think, you know, I just would like to mention here that telemedicine during the last 1 year, that is since we have this 1.5 years of pandemic, it has seen a big boost, not only in India, but even in a developed country like United States of America, where I was part of the International Society for Telemedicine also there. One of the US gentlemen told me that there has been a 300% jump in the use of telemedicine during this pandemic phase. And there is a reason for that. The reason is that, there is no direct contact between patient and doctors. A lot of, new viruses, a lot of new pathogens that people sort of imbibe is from hospitals. They are called superbugs. So if you avoid that and get, sort of your consultation, in any case, the doctor also sees the reports from the labs when prescribing the medicine to you. So if he can see the, reports from labs and sort of other instruments from his, clinic directly without physically touching the patient, which becomes a problem in this pandemic. So there is a lot of things to be gained, and that's why telemedicine has got a big boost. It's considered to be a safe haven for those people who are not COVID infected. It ensures that they don't get COVID in clinics and hospitals.
Thank you, sir. Next question is from Sharon. She's asking, sir, what are the emerging technologies in healthcare?
I think you might have joined a bit late, but I had mentioned all the emerging technologies in healthcare. Of course, we are short of time. Otherwise, I could go back to those slides. But just to mention a few is like artificial intelligence, IoT, extended reality. It includes all of those domains like digital twins. There are so many things that form these emerging technologies. You can go through the presentation because I think this also is being recorded. You can go through the recording once again and see what the emerging technologies are.
Okay, so the next question is from Amina Muhammad. She's asking, sir, what are the difficulties in implementing Pan-African telemedicine project?
Well, this Pan-African e-network project is something I can talk for hours together. There were a lot of challenges. And when we look from every specific domain, like from project management perspective, so there are at least 50 challenges I can sum up. But just to mention, if you are asking me from only the medical perspective, I would say that, it's one of the challenges was, of course, maybe, a knowledge barrier. In Africa, for example, there are a lot of people, a lot of doctors who have done their FRCS. So when a person from India, a doctor from India, delivers some lecture on a particular subject, so there is a barrier. They feel that we already have this particular knowledge. So that was one of the challenges, that in some countries, the uptake was less. But in some countries like Egypt, for example, when, they would come in a limited way, but whenever they had a question on a particular subject, as many as 50 doctors from Egypt would attend such sessions on capacity building. So this is one of the challenges from the medical perspective, but there were engineering challenges, there were project management challenges. Maybe in the next session of IEEE, maybe we can discuss that in detail. I would love to talk on it.
That was an interesting session, and thank you so much, sir, for answering all our queries. It would be great if someone could give a feedback for this session.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you. I would be happy to do that. Okay,
Sorry.
so, good evening, all. Good evening, one and all. My name is Nijin sir. I'm second year BTech student. So first of all, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving us such an informative and interesting session. You gave us a clear idea about the importance of health, digital health, and the future of technologies. It is really interesting to know that how technology is helping that disabled and physically challenged people to get back to their life. Technology is always making our life easier. So thank you, sir. I'm looking forward for getting more opportunities in attending your sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nijin. Have I mentioned your name correctly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me patiently. Maybe it might have been boring at times, but I always like to interact with young people. And I have a principle that I'm in a thought process that even if one person gets benefited out of an audience of 170 people, I think my job is done. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, I would like to call upon Mr. Kabir to convey the vote of thanks.
Good evening, all. I deem it my privilege for being bestowed with this responsibility to express my gratitude representing Blaze TKMIT. Synapsis is always an enthusiastic word for all of us. We are very glad to have such an impressive number of participants in the first 2 days of the event, and the cooperation we get is appreciable. Moreover, I facilitate Mr. Vimal Wakhlu for sparing your valuable time with us in between your busy schedule and sharing us with your knowledge. I also acknowledge you for giving us an excellent talk on implementing telemedicine and digital health, leveraging emerging technology. Now, as a token of love, appreciation, and above all gratitude for the great insight you showered on us, we would like to present you a virtual memento.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for
kindly
showering your
accept
love.
this virtual memento, which we consider as a representation of our boundless gratitude.
Thank you very much. I accept this with all humility. Thank you very much, all of you.
Now, I am thankful for each and everyone who stand beside us till the end of this day, especially Dr. Nida ma'am for giving us an commendable introduction about our esteemed speaker. My sincere gratitude to our collaborators, Telemedicine Society of India, Digital Health India Association, and EMBS Kerala Chapter, who are really the backbone of this technical extravaganza. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the IEEE Kerala session and Mr. Alan, the session ECC, for the immense support being extended to us. I thank Ms. Shivalashmi for her wonderful covering and Nijin for sharing his feedback for the session. And it would be incomplete if I end up acknowledging the participants. The response you give us is what help us do more to make every day better. Once again, thank you all for attending the session.
Thank you. Bye for now. We'll be in touch and maybe meet some other time. Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Kabir. I kindly request all the participants to fill the feedback form given in the chat box. So now it's time to bid adieu to the second day of Synapsis 21, streamlining the digitalization in healthcare amidst pandemic. It's always our pleasure to have you with us, and we value each of your presence. Stay tuned for tomorrow's session, scheduled at 6 p.m., handled by Mr. Bijoy MG, bringing on the table telemedicine yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Good night, and this is Shivalakshmi signing off.